From Southern California, this is The Circle of Insight, a show about everything in psychology. Hear the latest in news and views on psychology. Our motto is simple: wherever there is psychology involved, we are there. And now, here's your host of The Circle of Insight, Carlos Vazquez.
From wherever you are around the world, welcome and thank you for joining us on today's Circle of Insight Special Edition, Kelly's Causes. That's right, we have with us former Nip Tuck star and movie actress Kelly Carlson, and this is one of her important causes. She wants to understand more and bring more awareness to you, to help you. One of the biggest things that we have a problem with in society is fear and being alone. So we try to dedicate ourselves to bring you the truth through awareness and education and unfiltered information. Well now, so what are we exploring today on first edition of Kelly's Causes? We're going to be exploring handwriting analysis. That's right. Is there really psychology behind handwriting? We're going to find out with Michelle Dresbold. She's a handwriting expert and personality profiler. Let's welcome her to the circle. Hi, Ms. Dresbold. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Wonderful. Here's Kelly Carlson as well.
Hello. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Kelly.
So, first question is, what is handwriting analysis?
What handwriting analysis is that through a person's handwriting, or basically through their brain prints, through the prints we see on a page, a handwriting analyst interprets those prints somebody puts on the page and explains what's behind the prints and what is in that person's brain. So really reading handwriting is a little like reading what's going on in somebody's brain. So that's what it is.
I have a question. When you analyze handwriting, does that represent what the author is currently feeling, or does it represent deep-seated emotions, beliefs, feelings, or is it a mixture of both?
Great question.
It's a great question. It's really a mixture of both.
Okay.
We are who we are, but we are also who we are upset, who we are happy. So my handwriting will never look like your handwriting if I'm happy or sad, but our handwriting, everybody's has a basic handwriting, and it will change a little bit depending on your mood. So it is you, but you happy, you sad, you going through a trauma. And if your handwriting changes drastically, it means that you are going through either an emotional or physical trauma.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is. When you analyze or you first glance at somebody's handwriting, what are the characteristics that are the present emotion and what are the characteristics that are deep-seated? Is there a difference? I don't know.
The first thing you look at when you look at handwriting is the general look of the writing.
Okay.
So you get the general feel of it. Does the person write with a right slant, a backward slant? Do they write real teeny weeny? Do they write large? Are they pressing really hard into the page? Those are usually things that are pretty, that somebody carries throughout their life. Now, after you look at the general picture, you may look at specific things. Example, something like little teeny check marks on different letters can mean, or does mean, that the person's going through an anger stage. Whether they're always angry or just temporarily angry, you might need to see more than one sample.
Okay.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and I would imagine you have to, if you were working for law enforcement or, an agency of some kind, you would have to have several samples to establish a baseline for somebody, kind of like body language, or does it differ?
Well, it differs than body language. Often you don't get several samples of a person. I mean, if you're in law enforcement or if you have a letter and it says, we have your child, give us $20 million, you don't have a lot of samples.
Right.
So you can sometimes, from a very, very small sampling, know what's going on in that person's brain. Ideally, you want a lot of samples, but you usually don't get your ideal.
Actually, that brings up a question. Can you tell us a little bit about this picture right here? I think it says, "Please rescue me." It was your very first law enforcement case?
It was my very first case. It says, "Please rescue me," and there was it's sort of a name. You couldn't quite tell what it was. And the police came. What happened was they thought that a child was kidnapped. And somebody had found that note on the street. And they came to me and they said, do you think we have a child who's in danger? And I looked at that note and I said, no, I think that this K thinks is Kelsey. I think it's a child named Kelsey. It's a girl. She's about 5 years old. And I don't see any signs of stress. And they said, are you sure? Cool. And I said, yeah, don't worry about it. I said, it's nothing to worry about. And that evening on television, I think an FBI profiler, that case made national news, and he went, oh, we have a child, and she's kidnapped, and everybody has to send out patrols. And my heart was beating like, oh my God, I told them nothing was wrong. And the next day, a little 5-year-old girl with her father came into the police station, and they had recognized her handwriting, and she had said, I had written that note to my teddy bear. We were playing a game, and the note fell out the window.
Oh, jeez.
And so anyhow, she was crying, and they're like, don't worry, don't worry. So that was my very first case, and most of my cases are not that innocent and not that sweet, but that was my first case, and I think I got everything right. So that was my start of being in a law enforcement position.
That's a good start and a good ending to a story. Mm-hmm. So I get the funny feeling as we delve more, we're not going to have such pleasant stories.
Right.
Do you have any?
Yeah. Real quick, kind of piggybacking on your story, is it possible to tell when someone's writing if there's external threat or fear? Okay, so the author that's writing, are they feeling a sense of fear from an external threat, meaning like another person in the room telling them what to do?
Yes. If you're asking me, if somebody's writing something, and even if they're trying to say everything is fine, if they're in danger, their handwriting will change. There was a note I had read from somebody who had been captured and wrote something to I think it was a boat, an British boat that had been captured. And a young woman wrote home to her parents, and she said, I'm fine, and they're treating me nicely. And I saw the handwriting, and I said, she is not fine, and they are not treating her nicely. And because when you get nervous or stressed, your handwriting will change. And when you lie, even if you don't mean to lie, something will show up in your handwriting. Turns out that they were torturing her, and she was eventually saved. But and then when they told her to write, they were standing there making her write what they wanted her to, and she listened to them. But her handwriting, what was in her handwriting was danger and fear and a huge amount of stress.
Good to know.
It's amazing how that manifests itself like that.
But I mean, what an amazing tool to have. Do you know what I mean? Like, what a skill. I'm sure more people wish they had access to people like you.
Yeah,
you know?
I'd definitely say so. Now,
it is an amazing skill. I really think it's a skill that everybody could use because we see handwriting. It's not as if we need a special equipment to analyze it. We are just seeing it. It's not high tech, and I like that.
Let me ask you here: is there a difference between a criminal's handwriting and a normal person's, or does it depend on the situation again?
Well, that really depends because what type of criminal, and what is normal and what is criminal. How different are we from a criminal? Sometimes there's a very, very thin line. So.
How about a Charlie Manson?
Charles Manson's handwriting, I do have a picture in my book. His handwriting goes all over the place. It goes all over in circles on the page. It looks like crazy handwriting. Example, when you see Charles Manson's handwriting, it looks crazy. It has swastikas all over. Now, if you look at Ted Bundy's handwriting, it does not look crazy to the layperson. And just as if, unfortunately, if Charles Manson walked in my room, you would know immediately he's a nut. He's crazy, and you'd get scared. But Ted Bundy's handwriting, you need to study more. Because on the surface, it looks normal the way he does. But if you know what you're looking for, it looks every bit as crazy as a Charles Manson, but in a very, very different way.
And by the way, here's the book right here, Sex, Lies, and Handwriting, Michelle Dresbold. That's Dresbold. I know you're salivating to get it, so here it is. We'll continue on with more questions.
Yep. Okay, real quick, I'm going to throw one at you. The Felons Claw. The
Felon's Claw?
Yeah. If you could describe maybe what that is
Look
to
at
the
this one.
audience.
Wow,
Oh,
all
see,
right.
I know a couple.
Oh, no,
Felon's Claw, I've heard of it.
Claw, it looks like when you, let's say you take a Y, and instead of the Y looping up, the Y goes down and curves over like a claw.
Right.
And when you see that, it's as if the bowl is never full, and that person is always craving something. So Felon's Claw, you find those in 70% of all felons' handwriting. Now, just because you see it doesn't mean that person's a felon.
Right.
However, if you do see it, and many people have it, it does mean that your bowl is empty, and no matter what you get, it's not enough. So if you have a Felon's Claw in your handwriting, it doesn't matter if someone loves you, because no matter how much they love you, you'll never feel full. So seeing a Felon's Claw, whether it's in your handwriting or somebody else's, means that person needs some help.
So in other words, you would look at the Felon's Claw and then maybe look for some other characteristics that would be together to decide whether this person was dangerous or not. We know they're empty, but what else is wrong?
A Felon's Claw, though, someone who has a Felon's Claw always is a little dangerous. Now, a little dangerous could just mean that you're their best friend and then they stab you in the back because they get mad at you. A Felon's Claw can also mean the person is a major criminal. So a Felon's Claw in general means you need to use caution, but to what degree you have to look at the other things in the handwriting.
I think that's a very important characteristic to look for when you're interviewing a nanny or
That's a really good point.
dating. I mean,
Dating.
you know, it's a good, strong indicator.
Can you write down your name on the napkin for me?
Yeah, exactly.
What happened with the T? If they have that harsh T and that Felon's Claw, isn't there something with the T slash?
Well, a T
You got me going here.
Yeah.
Most of English writing goes up and down. A T goes forward like that. So you can tell how someone's pushing forward in life. If that T has a real pointed end of it, it means not that they're going to stab you, but they sure could bite you with their tongue. They're tough. If you see things that look like knives or points, you have a tough person that you're dealing with. A T can show many things, but when you see dashes or slashes or things that go, that person has a temper. Oh, in fact, I sometimes tell when I give a lecture, I tell people if you don't know who somebody is, imitate their handwriting, and you will feel what they're feeling inside of them.
That's
fascinating.
interesting, yeah.
We're going to take a commercial break right here for a second.
Hi, welcome to Adelante. This is Adelante Recovery, and my name is Yvette Kuglin, and I'm part of the staff.
Adelante Recovery Center has helped people in dual diagnosis for 5 years. We accept most PPO insurances and provide luxury accommodations and 24-hour support. To speak with an admissions counselor, call 1-888-242-4450.
A lot of time we don't even know what's wrong with us, and sometimes we need to get away to figure that out. So if you want to go for a little retreat out in Corona Del Mar, which is a confidential location, we're here to help. So we're only a phone call away. Thank you.
Welcome back. Let's continue our conversation with handwriting expert Michelle Dresbold. She wrote the book Sex, Lies, and Handwriting. I was just talking to Kelly off camera here for a second ago, and she mentioned something interesting about a person's signature. Somebody wrote their name, got back, looped around, and crossed over their name.
Okay.
What does that mean?
When you X out your signature is how you want others to see you. When you make a big X through it, it means don't look at me, don't see me. And often people who put X's in their signature are self-destructive.
Yeah.
They will do things over and over again to be self-destructive. So And also, if a signature, you sometimes see a signature and slowly that person starts Xing themselves out. That's one thing that you say, if it's not normal in their handwriting and they start doing it, it's something to be aware of in suicide watch. Because there are things more and more and more self-destructive.
You know, I saw a girl's handwriting, and I was telling Carlos about it, and she had crossed her name out at the end. And just by looking at it, even if you don't have a trained eye, that's what comes to your mind. And I told a friend of mine, and she told me that this girl has severe eating disorders. She's always in abusive relationships, and she has a strong self-hatred. And I thought, well, that just looking at her handwriting or her signature, you can kind of extract that.
Right. It's as if you go X. Don't go near me when you have an X. But who are they doing it to? Their name, themselves.
Right. Their image, their representation.
Should we explore some more signatures?
Yeah, sure.
How about, can we explore a little bit about signatures? What are some of the things we can look at? I know, I remember reading once that if you use a lot of big letters and loops, what does that mean?
Well, if your first letters, meaning the capital letters of your name, are very large, and the rest is fairly small, you'll find that in musicians and politicians and actors, actresses, people who like to be noticed. They usually have a very big capital letter. Is somebody's name who, if you take it and you underline it once, it means, hey, look at me, I'm pretty good, and it's very healthy. If you take your name and underline it, it's not good. It means, look at me, please, please, please. So any exaggeration. If somebody writes, and they sign their name very teeny weeny, it means, oh, I'm hiding away. I don't think I deserve anybody to look at me. If they write their name super large, they're like, I'm a big shot. So those are a few of the things.
Are you feeling self-conscious here, Kelly?
Am I?
I know
I
am.
I was thinking of
I'm changing my signature right now.
my signature, right? Yeah, exactly.
There's one other interesting thing about a signature. Does one signature look the same as the rest of their handwriting? If that means what you see is what you get. If they write one way, normally, but sign completely differently, it means I'm showing you one side of me, but that's not necessarily who I am.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
A
Couple other things.
Go for it.
So going into the technical part of this, because I know there's so much to analyzing handwriting, we couldn't possibly cover it all. But talk to us about numbers. Like, I had an experience where I was working with our mutual friend David. I had someone forging my handwriting and signatures and all this, but they forgot to do the numbers like me.
Right.
And I thought, I wonder if that's common. They didn't make the connection. They're trying to deceive with the letters, but when it came to the numbers, they were true to their handwriting.
Right. Well,
That's observant.
That's a little different subject that's dealing with forgery. And what you look for is somebody to forget something. Often they'll write an anonymous letter and stuff it in an envelope and put a block letter, and then they'll write one word or like the zip code. Somebody will eventually write their own. That's what you look for, maybe their own numbers. I have something interesting in the book in a chapter called "The Devil's in the Detail," and it's a number. And it happens, nobody can tell what that number is. And it happens to be the Scott Peterson who killed his wife, Lacey Peterson. When he wrote his zip code, you could barely read half of the letters. When you're looking for somebody who's deceptive or a con artist, they will make a few of the numbers look like numbers you can read, and a few of the numbers very deceptive. Is that a 4? Is that a 7? Is that a 9? When you can't tell what the numbers are, that is not the person to hire to be your accountant.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you for telling me now.
Right. I mean, there are things in numbers and in letters that con artists time after time after time do.
Wow.
And one of the things that you look for are numbers that are not clear.
Good to know.
That's
I mean,
really
there's so much like important information in this, you know. What about margins?
Oh, margins.
Oh, okay.
Well, the margins are how you set the boundaries of your life. So in English, we write from our left to right. So the left is where we start, and our hand travels towards the right. So the left represents where you started or your past. The right represents where you're going to or your future. So if somebody leaves a huge left margin, where are they running away from? Their past. If someone clings to that left margin, they're clinging to their past. If somebody writes, but they leave a huge space between the right, they're not knowing what they want to do in their future. Now, if you have somebody, and this is almost a guarantee, unless the paper is really small. If there's a line where usually you start, a blue line down a page and then lines this way. If someone disregards that line and writes right through it, there's someone who will disregard boundaries, and I'll guarantee you cannot trust that person.
Wow. I hope everybody's taking notes.
Right. I once been on a blind date, and I had this very bad feeling about this guy. I didn't like him. I mean, he seemed real nice. He seemed everything. But I didn't like the guy. And later he wanted to walk me to my door, and I was like, no, no, no. And I somehow got some of his handwriting, and he wrote right through all those margins. And I was like, whew. But I knew something was wrong with that guy.
Wow. Isn't that fascinating?
That is fascinating. Let me ask you a question. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this or not, but like, for instance, we go back to Charlie again. He was writing these big circles. Is there a neurological connection here? Is there something he can't control, or can he control this?
Well, anything that's in your brain, if you can't control something in your brain, you can't control it in your handwriting. Some things will show up in the handwriting, like if you've had brain damage, or if you've had Parkinson's, or if you have arthritis, things that you can't control, they will show up in your handwriting. But if you cannot control your mental state, it will also show up in your handwriting.
So I guess Freud wasn't wrong when he said it oozes out of your fingertips, huh?
It oozes out, yes.
Wow.
That is amazing. What else?
Well, about Cursive, I know Cursive is going out of style today in a lot of public schools, but
Yes.
Maybe 20 or 30 years ago, is it relevant if they write in cursive or print?
Well, it is relevant. It's also relevant that you write in general and you don't type all the time. But the difference between cursive and printing is in cursive, things are all connected. The letters are connected. And your brain makes different connections. When you write in cursive, and also when you print, but more cursive, you will remember more. If you need to study a new language, if you write in cursive, you'll remember it more. And in cursive and printing also deal with the part of the brain that's with memory and language. And so I think it's very, very important to study it.
Interesting.
And also, I was just going to bring up one other thing. The very last thing someone who has Alzheimer's does is lose their handwriting. Most people, even with severe Alzheimer's, can write their name. You know that they're really finished when they can't write. But that is one thing you will almost always remember, your name.
Oh, yeah, that's tragic. We have a couple more. We got about 5 minutes left, so a couple more questions. I have a 4.5-year-old. Anything there that we should be looking at? Or can you? Or what age can you start? I guess better
Good
said.
question.
Well, certainly I don't like to look at young children's handwriting because they're just learning. So and their motor control skills, they're just not formed yet. But by the age of 10, I would say by the age of 10, you will start to see things. I've seen children, and they're having problems at home. You know that they have learning disabilities. Might know they have seen eye problems. You can tell if a child is having social issues. And a lot of this you can tell from their handwriting. But I would not look at anyone any younger than 10 years old.
All right. Well, we have a couple minutes here. I think Kelly's, we're both kind of getting brave for this, but We want to see if you want to look at our writing here that we've done here for a second. Are you willing to
Oh, of
Do you want me to
course. Are
sign
you
it?
willing?
Sign?
The question is, are you willing?
Yeah, am I willing?
I know, I'm
We
scared.
can always edit this out, so I guess it's...
We signing our signature?
What do you want us to write? You want us to write us something or sign?
More than your signature, write something like, "Hi, Michelle.
Oh, gosh.
Nice to meet you,"
Oh,
and your signature.
We're putting ourselves on the line here.
I know.
On the line. I hope I don't have to arrest either one of you.
I know. Oh my gosh. This is scary.
Oh, you want us to sign it too?
I just signed
Yes,
it.
yes, sign it,
Are
please.
you ready?
Yes.
Kelly's going first. I love her. She's just ready to go.
Okay, let's see it.
Oh gosh.
Can you see that?
I cannot see it really.
Saved.
Yeah, no.
You're safe by the
No
bell.
problem. No.
It doesn't show up.
It doesn't show
sort of-
up. We
I saw-
probably need darker. Try yours.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see mine.
Try it. If not, if you no, put it over more in that direction. No, it's coming out almost as a white page.
Oh, well, we definitely tried.
You can email it to me, and then I'll tell you all about you, and you can write it on your webpage.
There you go.
Raging narcissist.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Here's the book once again, Sex, Lies, and Handwriting. I know people are going to want to get a hold of you. Where do we go?
Well, you can always reach me through my website, which is michelledresbold.com, or email me, mdresbold@comcast.net, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, this was
Wonderful
wonderful. Excellent show. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Remember, our motto is simple. Wherever there's psychology involved, even in your handwriting, we are there. We'll see you next time, everyone. And now we have a special feature at the end of our shows, a singer or talent of the month. This month in March, we have Rebecca Jade. And on this show, listen to Tryin'.
Oh, I've been trying to find you. I ain't stalking, walking down your street. You know we had a quick conversation, and that's all that took to capture me. I'll go eastbound through Arizona, through New Mexico, where you might be. From every dive bar to every 4-star. You know it means that much to me. Been running so long, know what I'm trying to find. It's you. What will it take to make you mine? I use my common sense, I use coincidence, but it only took a little chance. On a cold night in Colorado, you shivered outside with a cigarette. So what to say now, after a long while? I got nothing more than what's your name? Do you remember me from last December? We met too briefly by an open flame. Yeah, been running so long, know what I'm trying to find. It's you. What will it take to make you mine? So you let